Another follower asked, "Thank you for your timely tweets, and thank you, Shimura-san, for translating them. You're welcome. How many more years do you think Ohtani can continue playing the majors in the major leagues as a two-way player?"
That's a really good question. So far, he's obviously doing great, but at some point, if he has an injury as a pitcher, that could be the end of that. Or, if he signs his next contract and instead of the kind of money he's making, maybe a team, the Angels or another team wants to give him like $200 million and have him just pitch. They don't want to take a chance of him getting injured hitting. If they see him as more valuable as a pitcher, they might want him to do one or the other. He might not want to sign that contract. So it's really hard to say how much longer he can go. Everybody gets older and their skills diminish. And it's a little tougher to manage the workload that he's managing right now. So I would be surprised if he's a two-way player throughout his entire career until he retires. But I have no idea when that is going to be, when he's going to stop.
If he gets injured again as a pitcher, is that the end of his two-way player career?
It depends what kind of injury it is, but it's possible that could happen. I think that's a little less likely now than at the beginning of the season when he still hadn't really proven very much as a pitcher. I would have said that one injury would have been the end of it. But now that he's had a little more success, and I think that people are more confident that he can be a good pitcher, if he would have a minor injury as a pitcher, I think that wouldn't necessarily be the end of his pitching.
Related to that question, is Ohtani more valuable as a hitter or pitcher?
Probably more valuable to the Angels as a pitcher, just because have more. They need more pitchers. Obviously, they already have Mike Trout, Anthony Rendon, Jared Walsh. Those guys are good hitters. They really don't have very many other good pitchers. There's a big gap between Ohtani and the second best pitcher on the Angels. So I think if they were forced to pick, if they could only have him do one or the other, I think they would have him pitch.
But for other teams, the answer could be different.
Yeah.
Oh, here's an interesting question. Are you related to David Fletcher on the Angels?
Nope, not at all. We joke about that sometimes, and people joke that I'm his father. I prefer to say like I'm his big brother, but we're not related at all.
Um, are there a lot of Fletchers in LA? This person asked. Yeah, and he also thought you were his father.
Yeah, I don't think there are that many Fletchers around.
So here's another big topic. Lots of questions from followers about ball doctoring in the major leagues. Explain to us why it's a big deal.
The baseballs in the major leagues are different than the baseballs in Japan. First of all, in Japan they're much more tacky, so the players can get a grip on them more easily. In the United States, they're a little more slippery, and so players have used different substances throughout the years just to have a better grip on the ball. But what's happened in the last year or two is they found different substances that go beyond that, and they not only give you better grip on the ball, but they allow you to have more spin on the ball, which basically makes your pitches better. And that has become basically to the point of being unfair. So they want to eliminate that. But the problem that a lot of pitchers are having is that they are eliminating both situations, both the improving the grip and improving the spin. And the pitchers would like to say, well, let's allow some products so we can improve our grip, but not allow the ones that improve the spin. So that is the difficulty right now that Major League Baseball is having, trying to differentiate between those.
So MLB has begun cracking down on the use of foreign substance by pitchers. A follower asked, has that caused any confusion or other issues for the Angels?
Well, they've only had one day so far of actually checking the pitchers, and so far everybody was okay. The pitchers obviously probably stopped using whatever they were using, a week or so before. One pitcher that we talked to, Alex Cobb, was pretty upset about it because he really needs the sticky stuff for his grip, because he said that he hit a player once when he was younger, and he hit him in the face, and it really bothered him, and he doesn't want to do that again, and he thinks that's a risk when you can't improve your grip. He actually does not want to improve his spin because he throws a sinker, and a sinker is actually worse if the spin is higher. So he was pretty vocal about being upset about this change.
Do you have any idea as to why major leagues not using baseballs like they do, like the ones used in Japan?
They've experimented with those, or with a version of those in a few different times, and they basically said that it just needs more research because they need to make the balls act the same way in terms of like how far they fly. Basically, maybe use a stickier ball, and all of a sudden home runs go way up. Then you've created a whole other problem. So they need to basically do a little more research into the balls to come up with that. I think they're eventually going to have to. They're not going to have a choice, and they're just going to have to keep experimenting until they find a ball that is a little more sticky and still flies at the same distance of the current ball.
A follower asked that he or she's worried about that this situation would cause injuries like it did to Tyler Glasnow. Are you concerned about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely could happen. Everything that I've heard from other pitchers makes sense about how if they're not gripping the ball as well, they need to grip it more tightly, and that obviously makes all the muscles in your arm act a little differently than the way you're used to, and obviously that is a bad thing if you're a pitcher. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see as we go through the rest of this year if that does happen.
So nobody's happy with the current situation.
It doesn't seem like it, and I think that Major League Baseball might have been a little hasty in this solution without really trying to find a solution that addresses one of those situations without the other.
Yu Darvish on the Padres tweeted that he had some Padres pitcher try out baseballs used in Japan. Has the Angels tried that, do you know?
Well, they had them in spring training a couple of years ago, and all the teams got to try them out. So I assume the Angels did try them out. I think it was spring training of 2019 where they used some balls. They didn't use them in games in spring training, but in workouts and stuff.
And those are Japanese baseballs, baseballs used in Japan?
I don't know if they're the baseballs used in Japan, but there are the different baseballs that I referred to earlier that have the different surface that's more sticky.
Do you know how the players responded to it?
No, not really. They didn't really get very far with the experiment. They didn't use them in games or anything like that. And I don't think the question is how the pitchers would respond, because the pitcher just cares about holding the ball. I think that like I said, what needs to still happen is figure out what happens when the ball's hit. So I think that is what still needs to be learned.
Is there any chance that Jacob deGrom will break the ERA record held by Bob Gibson?
It's possible. It's going to be pretty hard to do because it only takes a couple bad games to ruin that. And to get all the way through a season of 30 starts without having those couple bad games is pretty hard to do. So as well as he's done so far, he's still not even halfway through. But he's definitely probably got the best chance of anybody we've seen in a long time. It's pretty incredible, like I said, but he's a great pitcher. He's the best pitcher in baseball right now.
Is Ohtani a candidate for the American League MVP this year?
Absolutely. I think that, if you had to vote today, he would be the MVP. So he just has to continue what he's doing for the whole season. If he does this all the way through and doesn't have any injuries or slumps or major slumps, I think he probably will win the MVP.